to week 50 and 51 of my life as an L3 CTS cadet pilot. That little clip that you just saw there was from a little trip that a group of us went on to the other side of Hamilton Airfield, and that's the main terminal. And basically there's a really nice rooftop cafe that they've got there, and it overlooks the main apron and the airfield. So you can get some lunch, sit there and enjoy everyone's slightly borderline landings at times. So, what have I been up to? So, 7 flights have been completed in these last 2 weeks. Been booked in a lot. I mean, the weather's not been amazing, but because I've been booked in so much, it means that whenever the weather has been good, I've been able to get flying, so that's been really good. So, it's been mostly solo flying I've been doing in these last couple of weeks. But for the first flight in these 2 weeks worth of roundup was a dual flight with my primary instructor, and it was the IF6 flight, and it's basically called Instruments Revision. But I had to make a few adjustments to this flight, even though on the previous 5 instrument flights I was doing really well and we didn't really need the full 2 hours to do a revision session. To go flying solo, we have to have a certain number of essential exercises to be valid. So for example, we had to have demonstrated a stall in the last month, engine failure, takeoff, a go around, a glide approach, a flapless approach, simulated radio failure. There's all sorts of things we have to abide by to go on a solo flight, and pretty much all of these had expired prior to this flight. So basically, we spent half of this flight doing IF6. So I think on this particular occasion we flew to Tahoe Sands, then over to Tokoroa, and that's where I did a lot of my essential exercise renewals, and then went north up toward Putaraba and Tirau and did the rest of my essential exercises before coming back in to Hamilton. So that ended up being a really good flight. Got all of my essentials renewed, which meant I could do a lot of solo flying in the subsequent weeks. So, that flight was all done. I then had to go and do a general handling flight. The weather wasn't really good enough to do a nav flight, so we decided to change it to a general handling solo flight. And basically for that, all I did was fly a west departure at Hamilton, go to the north of Raglan, did my general handling, and then came back in again. Nothing particularly amazing. The cloud base was at about 3,500 feet, so it was very tight, particularly with doing stalling. I mean, basically I flew out here and I said to myself, I need to find one area where I can get 3,000 feet, do the exercises at the high altitudes, and then once I've got them done, I can do all the low altitude stuff. So for example, forced landing without power, you can, even though we're supposed to start it at between 3,000 and 3,500 feet, you can start it lower. You just have to adjust the procedures to match that. So for example, if you're at 2,000 feet, instead of turning into wind, you turn away from the wind, so you turn downwind. So you sort of cut half the circuit out. But engine failures can happen at any time. There's no guarantee that they're going to happen above 3,000 feet. You could have one happen at 2,000 feet, and if you're really unlucky, you could have one at 400 feet, which is what we do with the instructors at times. Obviously we don't shut the engine down, we just pull the power right back. So that was good fun, although it was a bit annoying coming back in. We had some pretty severe delays coming back in, to the point where I was only able to do 3 circuits in my half-an-hour slot, so that was very annoying. But I don't really know what really happened there. I think basically there was some people in the circuit who shouldn't have been there, and it prevented me from entering it, so that was annoying. But hey ho, get it done another time. Circuits is probably one of the stronger points, so I'm not complaining too badly. After that, I did another solo flight. I believe this was Nav 10 solo, and the weather was finally good enough to one of my more epic routes. And what I describe as epic, I flew from Hamilton all the way up to Thames, all the way up over the top of Coromandel, all the way up to Port Jackson, then down the east coast, past Paranui Beach, down towards Waihi Beach. Now, so at this point, I did originally plan on going to Taronga and doing a couple of touch and goes there, then flying to Tirau and then coming back in. But unfortunately, whilst I've gone up here and come back down, the cloud base has started dropping, and to the point where it was starting to sit along the Kaimai mountain range. So when I got to Waihi Beach, I was thinking, do I risk going to Tauranga and then realising that I can't go over the Kaimai mountain range and get stuck there? Or do I shoot for what's known as the Waihi Gap, which you can fly at relatively low altitude and just come back via the training area? In the end, what I did, I came through the Waihi Gap. My goodness, that was a turbulent sector. Like, I originally planned on flying ahead in and doing all the timings. For that leg, that went out a window. The turbulence was definitely moderate, possibly even severe at times. So you've really got to treat mountains with respect, but the cloud was coming down and I didn't have a choice. So it was a good thing I went that way and not went to the south of Tauranga on the way to Rotorua, where the terrain clearance would have been much, much lower and possibly even not possible on the visual flight course. So that was a really good call in the end. As a matter of fact, when I went over the top of Mt Ruapehu, I looked at the Kaimai mountain range and the cloud was indeed sitting on the mountain ranges, so definitely the right choice. I just came back in via Tirau, and well, funny enough, the weather at Hamilton, I seem to remember the cloud base was at about 6,000 feet, so it was very isolated in this area. But overall, really good flight, great experience, lots of radio work, so it was well worth doing. So after this flight, I think it was actually the next day, I went on and did another solo nav, 2.5 hours. But again, the weather was a bit borderline, couldn't get over any mountain ranges, so I did the lap around the training area, which was basically Hamilton, round the top side of Porongnia, down to Tupuai Island Sounds. And then to make things a bit more tricky, I decided to go to something that's difficult to spot, a little town called Benidorm, which is down here. It's about 50 to 70 houses, so it's reasonable in size, but it resides in a valley. And the problem with that is, if you're off course, it would be very difficult to find it. But, as luck would have it, I flew straight over the top of it, so I was able to find it. After Benidorm, flew over the top of Tokoroa, then up to Matamata, and then did a planned diversion to Tau Kafasa, which you've got to be a bit careful of because there's a bit of airspace here, which I was aware of, and then as I was flying this leg, I thought I was further north of the airspace than I actually was, encountered a pretty nasty rain shower to the point where if I maintained heading, I would have potentially have been in instrument meteorological conditions, which would have been illegal. So I literally went, right, what's the weather like to my right? It's even worse over there. Looks like the weather to my left. Looks lovely over there, let's go over there. Slight problem, I forgot about the airspace. So I went 1 mile inside of controlled airspace. Thankfully, at the time no one noticed, and I didn't notice until I got to this lake here and realised that I was no longer right of track. As a matter of fact, I was on my original track, and then I thought, probably was quite near that airspace. So at that point, I had to just put that behind me and go, right, fly the rest of your nav, deal with it when you get on the ground. And the rest of the nav was basically fly from Tau Kafata to Raglan and then back into Hamilton. And as soon as I got down, before I'd even logged the flight, I went straight onto our aircraft tracking software called SpiderTracks, had a look at my track, and sure enough, I was 1 mile inside airspace. Turns out, air traffic control, I was spoken to air traffic control afterwards, they didn't see me. It turns out this bit of airspace here is busted so often that they have pretty much stopped monitoring it. It's not used. And as long as you're not at like 3,000 feet or even 4,000 feet, they're perfectly fine with it. But just to be on the safe side, I submitted an internal report, had a meeting with the safety officer, and they basically said I did the right thing. I avoided weather, and unfortunately I was just off course and it meant I was in airspace. But if I was where I thought I would have been clear, but no telling off, they just said just be a bit more aware of airspace, which yeah, next time I'm planning around this area, I'm definitely going to either plan a lower altitude, or I'm just going to go a lot wider, because my original plan was only a mile outside. Ended up being a mile inside. But hey ho, you learn from your mistakes. That's 130 flight hours I've gone without busting airspace, so as the safety officer says, I was definitely overdue. So, what did I do as my next flight? Well, I think it was, oh yes, not night one, we did that last time, night two. And for night two, you do a dual 2 solo night flight. And basically what that means is you go out with an instructor dual and you just do circuits. And then if they feel you're safe to do the night phase on your own, you can go and do 5 stop and go landings. And the reason why it's 5 is what's required to get a night rating. On my previous night lesson, one of the things that was brought up with me was I was flaring quite early. So when I came in for my first approach, I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to flare a bit later. That could not have been a worse decision, because I came for my first landing, and just as I was bringing the stick back to flare, the ground came up to me and I had a pretty big bounce. So at that point, as soon as I realised I had a big bounce, I went full power, go around, flaps to take off, and did a go around. And annoyingly, I was with an instructor I've never flown with before, so first landing, first impression, absolutely terrible. So I came around and I said to him, I know I've made a mess of that, I know what I need to do, just let me go on with it. And he was like, yep, that's no problem. Came for the second time, did something very similar, but I managed to land it this time, didn't bounce. And then, what was it? Yeah, came around for the third one, a bit better, landed a bit flat, and I was, at this point, on approach to my fourth landing, thinking, uh-oh, I've not made a very good impression here. There's a good chance it's not going to let me go solo and I'm going to foul the flight, which is not a good thing. So I came around from a fourth attempt, again, landed flat, all 3 wheels at the same time. You're supposed to land main gear, then nose gear, which is ideal, which is great when you see the runway, but at night, particularly at Hamilton, you can only see the runway edge lights. There's no centerline lighting, which means you have to guess where the runway is. It's a lot harder than it sounds. But on my 5th and final attempt, I absolutely nailed the landing, and it was a full stop, taxied off the runway, and I was thinking, I might have saved myself here. As I'm taxiing along, my instructor then turned around and said, right, are you happy going solo? And I was like, if you're happy, I'm happy. And at that point, we shut down the aircraft, he got out, I got back in again, and went up and did my solo circuits. Annoyingly, I couldn't do all 5, because at Hamilton we have a curfew at 10:30, which basically keeps the neighbours happy. They don't want people flying over in the middle of the night. So at 10:30, we are not allowed to do any more circuits. So unfortunately, I only got to do 3 circuits. But on the plus side, that means I get another night flight, so not complaining too much. So, what did I do after the night flight? Well, I did what was it? Yes, I did another one of my epic flights, solo nav, 2.5 hours, and I've been planning this route for about 4 or 5 weeks now, and with only 2 more solo navs to go, I was thinking, I'm never going to be able to do this. It's one of my bucket lists, and for those who watch Lord of the Rings, it's to go and visit Mount Doom, which is down here, and it's called Mt Ruapehu. It is almost 10,000 feet high, and the airspace around it is 11,500 feet, I believe. And basically, I got up that morning, and I had a booking in the afternoon, and I received intelligence from people who have flown that route in the morning saying you can get 11,000 feet, which is couldn't have heard anything better. So I literally planned the route straight down to National Park, planned to do 1 lap round Mount Doom, back to National Park, over to Mangakino, and then up into the training area to do a bit of general handling and finish off the flight. So I planned that out, and then managed to get a direct on-track departure to National Park. And as I was flying along, I realised there was clouds going past at about 4,500–5,000 feet, and I was thinking, oh no, Mt Ruapehu is going to be obstructed, I'm not going to get to it. But as luck would have it, as the terrain rose, the cloud went up at the same rate, and I ended up going to Mt Ruapehu. I didn't do one massive lap round the volcano because there was quite a lot of cloud down the back of the volcano, and it didn't look particularly stable. So I just basically went to the northern side of it, did a couple of orbits in between Mt Ruapehu and the smaller volcano here, and I think I managed to get 8,000 feet. Just one thing to note, if you do go this high, you must lean the mixture. The aircraft does not perform well at high altitude if you leave the mixture at full rich. So make sure you lean it and you'll still get a good performance. I mean, like guys who've gone up earlier in the day managed to get 11,000 feet, so it is more than capable of going up to that altitude. After that, came back down to I think it was 5,500 feet I flew this next leg at. Flew to Mankino, descended down to 3,500 feet, did a couple of diversions around the train area and came back into land. So overall, a massive flight for me because it was one of the few flights that I really wanted to do. So on that note, I'd like to say thank you very much for watching. Feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel and share this video with anyone who you feel might be interested in the series. So what's going to be coming up in the next episode, I won't say whether it's next week or the week after because I generally don't know. But it's probably going to be my Progress Test 1, or PT1 for short, because my next flight is the profile, which is like the mock exam. And then it's going to be probably the last 2 night landings I need to do. Then I've got 1 general handling, 1 nav flight, and then it's my PT1, which if I pass that, it means I've completed the basic phase of flying. So stay tuned for that. I will see you in the next episode. Take it easy. Bye bye.